Something I've been complaining about, and other channels like my own have been complaining about for many years now, is this idea that diversity and inclusion are the most important things in entertainment, in Hollywood, in TV shows and movies and all this other things. It is the most important thing that needs to be there. It must be in there. It must be in every walks of life, everything around us, no matter what. And if you disagree, well, you're just a filthy bigot. And that could not be further from the truth. All we ever want is good stories. Checkboxes come after it. Diversity comes after it, as long as it's organic. But I figured I found this nice little video from none other than Taika Waititi, who says it oh so much better. So let's take a look and listen to the man himself.
I think the word diversity is wrong. I think that the idea of diversification of the screen is not quite right, because it's actually confusing everyone. And what's happening is we're mistaking that for we have to include a person from every single race and
have to include a person from every single race and every single background and every single story. And that's what's happening. You have production companies, Disney, Marvel, I guess they're the same thing, Warner Brothers, all these outlets saying, oh, you have to have this, you have to have that, to the point where the Oscars are requiring a certain quota in order for you to even be considered for nomination. And it's ridiculous. It's not organic. Whenever you force this diversity into your product, it waters down the product. It dilutes it. It ruins the final product. And you're robbing the public of genuinely good stories by going after agenda first, checkbox first. Story comes somewhere down the line because, oh, it has to include this, it has to include that. And that's not how the real world works. But let's see what Mr. Waititi has to say.
Every single background and every single part of the human experience in every show or everything that we make. That's not reality.
That's not reality, and it's not authentic. I couldn't have said it better myself, even though channels like mine have been saying it for quite some time. Although me only for a short period of time.
And it's not authentic. I never grew up with a group of friends where there was someone who represented every ethnic group in my group of friends. I don't want to see one token Polynesian character.
Token Polynesian character. He says it himself. Does anybody really want to see a token insert nationality character in entertainment? Do you want to see any token character or tokenized character? Like I said, it dilutes the product.
Yeah. But
what he has to say next, I definitely agree with. But it has to be across the board. Take a listen.
In your show, okay? That's just weird. And, you know, unless it makes sense. What I want to see is a fully...
Unless it makes sense. Organic storytelling.
Polynesian, controlled Polynesian story that's written by and show run by. Okay, I don't want to see, you know, when we make our things, don't give us a white showrunner to tell us the rules and tell us how to do things.
This little statement right here. I want to see an entirely Polynesian run show, Polynesian writers, Polynesian showrunner, who's going to know the culture. Now, like I said, I believe that 100% applies to the vast majority of fiction, if not all. If you're going to do a show about Polynesian culture, well, the majority of the people involved in that story, showrunner, writer, maybe director, I don't know about director, but definitely showrunners and writers, vast majority of them should be Polynesian. Same thing. If you have a period piece taking place during, I don't know, Dark Ages, UK, Europe, England, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a whole bunch of white people on there. Same thing with an African story, an Australian story. And that's going to be, well, depending on the nature of the African story, whether it's the Aborigines or the white, you know, prisoners that were dropped off there and left to die. Chinese, Japanese, Korean, all those stories. If you're making a story based in a particular region of the world, then the people of that region should be the majority of those involved. I don't understand why that is so difficult.
How to do things.
For people to understand. SBS News. Thank you very much for this wonderful thing. What do you think? Is Taika Waititi, is he suddenly in touch with what's going on around him? He's calling out Hollywood's ridiculous notion of inclusion and diversity, forced inclusion and diversity. That is the problem. If you want to sit there and give organic stories where everything makes sense, or when that inclusion and diversity is secondary or even third as far as the character's concerned. It should not be the primary aspect. The diversity, the inclusion, the checkbox, all this other stuff, it should not be the primary characteristic of the character in the story, of the story itself. It can be secondary. You can have your messages in the story. Entertainment has been filled with it throughout history for decades and decades. But in some cases, it can be primary because that's the basis of the story, of the movie, of the TV series. It can also be secondary when there's other more important things. We want to entertain. But Hollywood and Disney, I keep ragging on Disney because it's just so easy, because they just put out one diversity inclusion checkbox, forced agenda-filled nonsense after another that you can't help but point the finger and laugh as their shows tank in the ratings, tank at the box office, get pulled off the streaming services because nobody cares and nobody's watching them. People are turning to other forms of entertainment where the creators actually appreciate the system. The system? They appreciate the customer, the service that, is being provided. I got that completely backwards, so we're just going to move on to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Leave a like, leave a dislike. Let me know what you think in the comments of what Mr. Taika Waititi had to say, and I'll see you on the next one.